Rich woman humiliates humble doctor, but is shocked when her blind daughter starts to see. Helena Prado arrived at the hospital with the haste of someone who has no time for failure. She jumped out of the luxury car with her thin heels clicking firmly on the granite floor of the entrance, holding little Clara, her 10-year-old daughter, by the hand. The little girl, blind since the age of 3, walked with timid, dragging steps, trying to keep up with her mother. With sunglasses, a small rucksack on her back and a walking stick in her hands, Clara said nothing. The silence between the two was stronger than any diagnosis. Helena was wearing a light grey designer dress, her brown hair perfectly tied up in a bun, and her eyes bore a mixture of frustration and impatience. At reception, when she was informed that the visual rehabilitation service would be provided by Dr. Camila Nogueira, Helena couldn't hide her disdain. "Camila who?" she said, frowning. "Does this doctor have an international CV?" The attendant tried to explain, but Helena was already hurrying to the room indicated, pulling Clara by the arm. On entering and seeing the doctor, a simple woman wearing a slightly rumpled coat, her hair loose around her shoulders, and a warm smile, Helena let out an acid comment. "Is that the doctor? I asked for a specialist, not an alternative therapist." Camilla only replied kindly, "I'm in charge of Clara today. If you allow me, I can show you a different way." Helena rolled her eyes and crossed her arms, refusing even to sit down. Clara, for her part, squeezed the doctor's hand tightly, as if there was something there that she recognized. Dr. Camilla led Clara to a soft mat in the center of the room. The room was illuminated by natural light and gently scented with lavender. There were musical instruments, colorful fabrics, and objects of different textures scattered around carefully. Camilla crouched down so that she was at the girl's height and began to talk. She didn't ask about blindness or medical reports. She just talked about simple things: the sound of the rain, the smell of cornmeal cake, the feel of the wind on her face. Clara responded with small smiles. Helena watched from afar, shaking her head impatiently. "Is that all? Aromatherapy?" she mocked. Camilla turned around serenely. "Clara needs to feel safe before she can see. Her darkness isn't just in her eyes." Helena snorted. "Please, I brought my daughter to be treated, not to take part in a sensory summer camp." Camilla remained calm. "You brought your daughter to see, but perhaps what she needs most is to be seen." The sentence fell like a stone in the silence of the room. Helena remained silent, her jaw clenched. Clara then pulled out the red cloth with the gold stars and put it to her face. Camilla smiled. "It's like light, isn't it?" Clara nodded. And for a moment, while Helena maintained her rigid posture, a glimmer of tenderness went unnoticed. But it had started there, in the touch of what you can't see with your eyes, but with your heart. In the days that followed, Helena Prado kept to her strict routine of bringing Clara to the sessions, although she made it clear that she only did so at the insistence of her daughter's pediatrician. She always arrived with the same superior air, dressed like someone leaving a business meeting and entering another unwanted appointment. She greeted the reception with coldness, avoided glances, and didn't follow the sessions, preferring to wait in the car, reviewing contracts or sending harsh audios to her secretary. That Tuesday, however, something stopped her. As she entered the hospital, she heard soft music coming from the rehabilitation room. Curious, she approached. Through the crack in the door, she saw Clara sitting on the floor with her eyes closed and a smile on her face. The girl was moving her hands in the air as if she were drawing invisible sounds. Camilla was playing a stringed instrument and guiding the girl with sweet words. "Clara, what do you feel with that note?" The girl replied, "It's as if the sun is entering my chest." Helena froze. It was the first time in years that she had heard her daughter describe something so vividly, and it was also the first time she felt jealous of the connection between her daughter and that doctor she insisted on belittling. At the end of the session, Dr. Camila called Helena in for a chat. Clara has a rare sensitivity. The way she interprets stimuli, sounds, smells, textures. All this reveals a mind that is much more active than you realize. Helena replied immediately. But will that make her see? Because with all due respect, I'm not paying for this hospital for my daughter to become a poet. Camila remained calm. I understand your haste, but you need to understand that what holds your daughter in darkness isn't just physical. There are deep emotional blockages, and a large part of them comes from how she was treated after losing her sight. Helena clenched her fists. Are you blaming me now? Camila took a deep breath. I'm not blaming anyone, but sometimes, when we deny the pain, children learn to hide even what they feel. Helena remained silent. For the first time, she had no answer. She drove home with Clara in the back seat, quiet, her head against the glass. In the reflection of the rearview mirror, Helena saw her daughter smiling alone, as if she were talking to someone inside herself. And for the first time in a long time, she felt afraid, fear that the only thing preventing Clara from seeing was herself. The rehabilitation room was different that morning. The carpet had been replaced with a dark blue velvet one. There were cushions arranged in a circle, small boxes with sensory objects, and a safety mirror positioned discreetly next to one of the windows, where the sunlight filtered in gently. Clara arrived hand in hand with Camila, more animated than usual. Helena came in just behind, hesitating. Unlike the other days, she decided to follow the session, even though she kept her arms crossed and her expression impassive. Camila guided the girl to the center of the room and began the day's exercise, tactile memories. She handed Clara a small teddy bear, just like the one she slept with before the accident, then a cloth with her grandmother's perfume on it, then a musical box with the melody her mother used to sing. Clara's eyes watered. I feel Grandma close, and the smell of my room, she said, her voice low. Camila then approached, gently held the girl's shoulders and said, Now I want you to hold this mirror and tell me what you see. Clara touched the frame and brought her face closer. For a few seconds, nothing. But then, in an almost inaudible whisper, she said, There's a light. And then, with a trembling voice, Mom, do I see it? Helena's heart raced. Helena took a step forward, her eyes wide. Clara turned her face slightly and fixed her watery eyes on her mother. For the first time in 7 years, their gazes met. You're beautiful, Mom, the girl said, her voice breaking. Helena fell to her knees, as if the ground had disappeared from under her feet. Clara, my love. The words barely came out. Camila moved away in silence, allowing the moment to pass between them. Helena crawled over to her daughter and hugged her tightly. Forgive me for everything, for not knowing how to be a mother when you needed me most. Clara only replied with a faint smile. I always saw you, Mom, even in the dark. Helena cried like a child, her arrogance, her pride, the years of estrangement. Everything collapsed there, on the floor of that bright room. When she turned to Camila, her eyes wet and her voice broken, Helena could only ask, Why? Why did you do this for us? The doctor replied with the same serenity as always. Because Clara didn't just need to see, she needed to be seen. And today, you both did it. Helena didn't know what else to say. All she knew was that at that moment she had been cured of a blindness that wasn't in her eyes, but in her heart. The next morning, Helena Prado arrived at the hospital without makeup, without high heels, without her usual shield. She wore a light blouse, jeans, and the look of someone who had finally lifted the weight of years off her back. She entered the reception, and walked slowly through the corridors. When she found the room where Camila was preparing the day's materials, she stood in the doorway in silence. The doctor looked up and smiled kindly. Helena walked over to her, her hands trembling and her eyes watering. "I came here, not as a patient, not as a client. I came as a mother." Camila remained silent, listening. "Yesterday, for the first time, my daughter looked me in the eye, and what hurt the most was realizing that I had never really looked at her." Helena took a deep breath. "You didn't just make Clara see. You made me see. To see who I was, who I had become, and how much I lost myself trying to control everything when what she needed was affection." Camila approached calmly. Helena lowered her head. "Forgive me for judging you, for despising you, for having been blind, even with my eyes open." Camila held her hands tenderly. Forgiveness came when her daughter smiled again. The two hugged an embrace that was not that of a doctor and a mother, but of two women who had faced the darkness together and had finally found the light. That afternoon, Helena picked Clara up from school. She didn't send a driver and she didn't wait in the car. She went in, walked through the colorful hallways, and when she saw her daughter, she opened her arms with a genuine smile, maybe the first in a long time. Clara ran to her and hugged her tightly. "Mommy, everything looks prettier now, even you." Helena laughed through her tears. "I think it's because you're seeing me with the right eyes." They walked out hand in hand. Clara, now able to see the world, stopped with every step to take in the details, the trees, her classmates, the colors of the backpacks. But when they reached the sidewalk, she turned to her mother and said, "I always imagined what your face looked like. And you know what's funny? You look even more beautiful now that you've learned how to smile." Helena knelt down, held her daughter's face and replied, "And you're the reason for all of this. Thank you for never giving up on me, even when I gave up on you." They walked down the sidewalk together, unhurried. For the first time in years, Helena didn't need to rush to a meeting, close a deal, or impress anyone, because everything that truly mattered was right there beside her, a daughter who could see again, and a woman who had finally learned to see with her heart. That was today's story. Drop the name of your city in the comments. I'd love to know where you're watching from, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now's the perfect time to do it. Don't forget to share this video with more people. I'll see you in the next one.